Hi class, this is Tyler Wegner. This is my presentation number 3 for Automotive Management 402, and today I'm going to be talking about the use of automatic dispatch inside of a dealership service department. The reason why I'm talking about this is about a year ago, the dealership that I work for switched over to automatic dispatch, and it's been working pretty well. And I kind of think it's the new standard for dealerships, but maybe your smaller dealerships or dealerships that aren't up to date might not be using this, so it might be a good idea for them to go into it. So before automatic dispatch, we used to have one person's job who was to dispatch the work to the technicians. And this kind of took a lot of time because the dispatcher then had to first receive the order from the service writer, then look at the order, determine which technician is going to then get the order, which always wasn't handed out very fairly. But anyways, and then would have to hand out the work to whatever technician is open. So it kind of took up a lot of time, as where automatic dispatch, what happens is the service writer will get a vehicle in, he'll write the order, and then it'll be grouped into what kind of work is going to be done on the vehicle. For instance, if it's going to be an oil change, it'll be group 1. If it's brakes, it's going to be group 2. Steering and suspension issues will be group 3, so on, so on, and so on. And this can even go towards a group for PDIs, pre-delivery inspections, or a group for car washes, a group for, truck department, things like that. So really, the work can then be dished out to the technicians that work in those areas or those groups, or have certifications in those areas. For instance, if a technician doesn't have his steering and suspension certification, the computer is not going to show any steering and suspension jobs for him on the computer to pull. And that's very good because you don't, in a dealership, it's a lot of liability if you have technicians working on vehicles that they don't have certifications in. You never want that because it's just a huge load of trouble. People can, it's just no good. It's against the law, actually. But, anyways, so as soon as the service writer is finished writing the order and then clicks enter, the computer will then show the work into the pool, or it'll put the work in the pool of work on the software. And how it works is, so the customer will tell the service writer they need to pick their vehicle up at a certain time. If they do not, it automatically goes for the end of the day. So then, now you have your vehicles, and the computer will determine, it'll do estimates on how long it thinks things are going to take. For instance, an oil change might take a half hour, so it's going to estimate that if the customer drops it off at noon and they have to pick it up at 2 o'clock, the computer then determines that it wants to get the other customers done that are waiting first, but when a half hour's left, it better get that job in the shop. And it'll do that by, it'll start flashing a light on the screen saying, Mayday, Mayday. I'm not going to make my suggested time that the job should be done. So then the technician will then be, or the technicians will be aware, management will be aware, anyone who's looking at the computer screen will then see this and can act accordingly. Other than that, it just, the computer can generate which jobs should be done first by the estimated time needed to work on them, and it's better equipped to get all the jobs done on time than some just like a person up there with a repair order guessing. They might not know how long something's going to get, or something might get set to the side that was supposed to get done at 3 o'clock, and now it's 3:05 and the customer's there, and we're like, oh, we better get this job in right now. That doesn't make the customer very happy. It's actually, if you drop your car off and leave it there for multiple hours and then you get there and it's not done, you're not going to be happy. You really need customer satisfaction. You want your customers to come back. So in this circumstance, automatic dispatch is absolutely great for that. You almost never have cars that are not done on time unless there are other issues that the technician comes into. It's never because of the work was set aside and forgotten about. Now, what can happen is there's a lot of stress on the service writers to write these orders correctly. For instance, if the customer says that they want their car done at 3 o'clock, and they don't put 3 o'clock in, they don't put a time in, it's going to be for the closing hour of the dealership, which is 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock, depending on the days of the week. So on a busy day, if there's a bunch of customers waiting, that job might not get done on time. So there's really a lot of stress on the service writers to write these orders correctly. Also, if they don't put the work in the right groups, then technicians, again, the technicians will be grabbing wrong areas of work, and so on. Also, for warranty purposes, General Motors now wants documentation of the time spent working on the vehicle. And if you're doing it all paperless or with paper or pen and paper, it's very hard to prove that you're spending, if a recall pays 1 hour, or you're claiming for overtime if something happens during a recall and the job then takes longer. You can then ask for OLH, it's called, and it's extended labor hours, overtime labor hours, and they really want you to document that. And GM was being taken advantage of by certain dealerships that were claiming OLH when really there was no OLH. So with a computer, a technician can only work on one job at a time. So if it's a warranty repair, the technician starts work on the job and then a timer starts. And when the technician's done, he goes on the computer, ends the job, finishes it out, and then the timer stops. That way, if there was ever an audit or anything, it's recorded on the repair order how long the technician was working on the vehicle, so that it can easily dispute any kind of audit saying that the job didn't take as long as it should have, or saying that the technician spent not enough time on it and wants to claim overtime. So then the software also comes equipped for the ability to look up estimated labor times, and then give customers pretty accurate quotes and then save them within the computer. So if a customer comes in for an oil change and on an inspection, a technician finds that the car needs some kind of repairs, he can then go into the dispatch service or the dispatch software and pull up labor times for what the job pays, and then save that labor or that quote onto the customer's previous history, because it's all in the software. So when the customer comes back, you already know what the quote is, you know what's being done, you know how long it should take, and you also have part numbers, and it shows if we're in stock or if the parts are in stock in the parts department. So if you were trying to, so it kind of eliminates the technician having to go to parts, get prices on parts, waiting for the parts person to pull up the part number and give you the information that you need. When you're looking up your labor time and making your quote, it has part prices right there if they're in stock, and I mean, it really speeds things up. It eliminates that step. So there's a lot of beneficials to automatic dispatch. It's really all about, it comes down to getting the customers out quicker and getting the customers' cars done on time, really. Because the service writer is going to tell, so the service writer before this would just kind of guess if we were busy. People always ask, I want to drop my car off for a check engine light, when can it be done? So if a dealership only has 1 or 2 engine performance guys that do check engine lights, then if there's a busy day, the service writer doesn't really know. They might just guess that it's going to be at the end of the day, or they might say 3 or 4 days. With this software, you can go in, the service writer can go in and then look up all of the jobs that are lined up and need to be done in the system. And then it generates the estimated time, and you can actually give the customer a pretty accurate time frame on how long they'll be waiting for their vehicle. And it's a lot more, I mean, it's not always perfectly accurate, but it's a lot more accurate than just taking a wild guess. And you know, service writers and technicians, they don't work in the same area, so they don't really know. If you got a very high volume dealership and you got a lot of service writers and you got a lot of technicians, it's just, a service writer can't guess how much work there is. So, I mean, everyone wants to know when they drop off their vehicle, when it's going to be done, and making that time frame, getting the vehicle out on time, is key for customer satisfaction. You want your customers to come back. You want them to be happy. Obviously, with the competition, it's everywhere now. So, if you get a customer in your door, you want to have that customer returning every single time. And then when a customer leaves a different dealership because they're not satisfied, you want to then take that customer and retain them. I mean, that's very crucial if you want to outcompete your competitors. You want to thrive in the industry. you got to be on top of your game, and you do that by having customers and being loyal to them. And that's really what automatic dispatch is about. It's speeding things up, getting things done on time. That's about it. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks.